The sun had not even risen when Sarah Miller opened her tired eyes. Her alarm clock blinked 4:45 a.m., and the small room around her was cold and quiet. Beside her bed, a little boy slept under a thin blanket, her son, Ethan, only 8 years old. Sarah smiled weakly, brushed his hair gently, and whispered, "Sleep a little more, sweetheart. Mommy will be back soon." She stood up, tied her hair, and got ready for another long day. The old mirror on the wall showed a woman who looked older than her age, dark circles, tired eyes, but a strong heart. Sarah worked as a house cleaner. Every day she went from one home to another, scrubbing floors, washing dishes, and cleaning other people's dreams. She never complained. For her, this was life, hard, but filled with hope. She always told Ethan, "We may be poor, but we are not weak." Outside, the sky was still gray. She walked through quiet streets, holding her small lunchbox. Her shoes were old, the soles nearly broken, but she kept walking. Her first stop was the Johnson family house, a large white home with a garden full of roses. She had cleaned there for 3 years now. The Johnsons barely noticed her, but she didn't mind. She cleaned every corner with care, humming softly to herself. Sometimes, while she worked, she imagined another life, a life where she didn't have to count every dollar, where Ethan could have new shoes and paint for his drawings. Because Ethan loved to draw. His small notebook was full of sketches, sunsets, people, and dream houses. He often said, "One day, Mom, I'll sell my paintings and buy you a big home." Those words kept her going. That afternoon, when Sarah finished work at the Johnsons', she received a message from her cleaning agency. It said, "New client. Old house on Maple Street. 3 p.m. today. Good pay." She smiled. Extra work meant extra food for Ethan. The house on Maple Street was different. It was large but silent, as if forgotten by time. The windows were dusty, the air smelled old. Sarah knocked on the door, but no one answered. The agency had said the owner was away, so she pushed the door gently and stepped inside. It was dark, only a few rays of light breaking through the curtains. Old furniture stood under white sheets. The wooden floor creaked under her feet. She began dusting the shelves and cleaning the floor. Everything looked untouched for years. While wiping the bookshelf, she noticed a picture frame fallen behind some old books. She picked it up. It was covered in dust. She cleaned the glass with her cloth and saw a faded photograph inside, a young man standing beside a large tree, smiling. The back of the photo had something written, but it was too faint to read. Then she saw something strange. Behind the photo, there was a small folded paper, hidden between the frame and the cardboard backing. Curious, she pulled it out. It looked like a piece of an old letter, yellow with age. Only a few words were clear. "To the one who finds this, you're closer than you think." Sarah frowned. "Closer to what?" she whispered. She looked around. The room felt suddenly different, as if the air had turned heavier. The light flickered slightly, and for a moment, she felt someone watching her. Her hands trembled. She laughed nervously. "It's just an old note," she told herself. But something deep inside her didn't believe that. She put the letter back carefully and continued working. Still, her mind couldn't stop thinking about those words. When she finished cleaning, it was already getting dark. The sky outside was red and gray. Sarah locked the door and started walking home. The wind was cold, and the paper's words kept echoing in her head. "You're closer than you think." At home, Ethan ran to her and hugged her tightly. "Mom. Look, I drew this." He held up a small drawing, a big house with flowers in front. "That's beautiful," she said, smiling. "Is that our house?" Ethan nodded. "One day, it will be." Sarah laughed softly and kissed his forehead. "I hope so, baby. I really do." That night, while Ethan slept, she took out the folded letter again. She couldn't explain why, but she had brought it home with her. She stared at it under the small lamp, reading those words again and again. Something about them felt personal. She whispered, "Closer than I think." What does that mean? She didn't know that this simple, strange note was about to change her life forever. The next morning, as she packed her things for work, her phone rang. It was her cleaning agency again. "Sarah," the woman on the call said, "that Maple Street client wants you again. He just moved into the house. He asked for you by name." Sarah was surprised. "By name? But he doesn't even know me." The woman replied, "That's what I thought too. But he said he found something you left behind." Sarah froze. Her eyes went to her small bag where she had kept the folded note. She looked at it one more time, her heart pounding. Who was this man? What did he know? The paper trembled in her hands as the words whispered back to her mind. "You're closer than you think." And deep inside, she felt it, her life was about to take a turn she never saw coming. A few days later, Sarah Miller woke up to another gray morning. She kissed Ethan goodbye, packed her bag, and walked toward her next job. Her mind kept returning to the folded letter from Maple Street. "You're closer than you think." She couldn't stop thinking about it. Who had left it? What did it mean? And why did the client now want to see her by name? By mid-morning, she arrived at the Maple Street house again. The big wooden door looked different this time, freshly painted, polished, and shining in the weak sunlight. When she knocked, the door slowly opened. A man stood there. He looked quiet, serious, and a little surprised. His hair was silver at the temples, and his eyes were kind but guarded. "Hello," he said softly. "You must be Sarah Miller." Sarah froze. "Yes, that's me," she replied cautiously. "I'm Mr. Thompson," he said, stepping aside to let her in. "Thank you for coming." She walked inside. The house looked the same, dusty and old, but now there was a strange sense of warmth. "Please," Mr. Thompson said, "make yourself comfortable. There's a lot to clean, but, first, I need to ask you something." Sarah tilted her head. "Yes." He hesitated, then said slowly, "I understand you found something in my father's house." "A letter?" Sarah's heart skipped a beat. "Yes, but how do you know?" His hands trembled slightly. "My father left a note for someone, we never found who it was meant for. I don't know why, but you found it?" Sarah nodded, clutching her bag. I I don't know what it means. It just felt important." Mr. Thompson's eyes softened. He walked toward the shelf where the letter had been found, now empty. He touched the wood gently, almost reverently. "I thought I was the only one who would ever see this," he said quietly. Sarah looked at him curiously. "Why, who was it for?" He shook his head. "I don't know. That's why I called you. I need to know everything you saw, every detail." For a moment, Sarah felt a strange connection. She wasn't sure why, but this man seemed different. Not like other rich clients who barely noticed her. He was serious, almost anxious, yet calm. She took a deep breath and explained how she had found the old photo frame, the folded paper, and the words written on it. She described the room, the dust, the old furniture. Mr. Thompson listened carefully, nodding slowly. When she finished, he sighed and said, "This is incredible. I never expected someone like you to find it. Maybe it was meant to be." Sarah frowned. "Me? Me?" "Yes," he said. "There's something strange here. Something I can't explain. I feel you're connected to my father in a way I don't understand yet." Sarah's hands shook slightly. Connected? I. I don't know what you mean. Mr. Thompson paused, then asked. Would you help me clean the attic? There might be more clues. Sarah hesitated. She had cleaned the house already, but curiosity pulled her forward. Okay, she said. The attic was dark and full of old furniture and boxes. Sarah climbed the wooden steps carefully, dust rising with each movement. She reached out, moving boxes aside. Then she saw a wooden box, old, covered in scratches. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside were papers, hospital forms, adoption papers, old photographs, and on top, a photo of a young couple holding a baby. Sarah froze. She stared at the photograph. Those are my initials, she whispered. She held the papers in her hands, eyes wide. Mr. Thompson stepped closer. His face was pale. Sarah, this box belonged to my father. I don't know why, but he always left clues, for someone he never found. Could it be you? Sarah shook her head in disbelief. I don't understand. Her heart pounded. Something inside her told her that this discovery was not an accident. The words from the letter echoed in her mind. You're closer than you think. And now she realized, she might be closer than she ever imagined. Mr. Thompson looked at her with a mixture of hope and fear. This changes everything, he said softly. I think, you were the one he was searching for. Sarah's hands shook, her mind racing. She had cleaned houses for years, struggling every day, never dreaming of this. And now, her life was about to change in ways she could never imagine. For the first time in her life, she felt a spark of hope, small, fragile, but real. And as she looked at the man beside her, she realized that their lives were about to become connected in ways neither of them could have expected. The attic was quiet, filled only with the soft rustle of old papers. Dust floated in the weak sunlight coming through the small window. Sarah Miller sat on the floor, holding the wooden box close. Her heart raced so fast it felt like it would burst. Every paper, every photo, every form she touched told a story, but whose story? Mr. Thompson knelt beside her, his hands hovering over the box, unsure if he should touch it. His eyes were wide, full of fear and hope at the same time. Sarah, he whispered. Look at this. She turned a page slowly. It was a hospital form, yellowed with age. Her name was written on it, Sarah Miller, but the date was decades old. She gasped. This is me. Yes, Mr. Thompson said, his voice shaking. This was left by my father. He must have known. He was searching for you. Sarah's hands trembled. She picked up a photograph. A young couple smiled at the camera, holding a baby wrapped in a small blanket. The note on the back read, Our little Sarah, may life be kind to you. Tears filled her eyes. She could hardly breathe. I don't understand. Why didn't anyone tell me? Mr. Thompson swallowed hard. Your father, my father, he wanted to take care of you. But something happened, and you were sent away. Adopted by another family. He always left clues, hoping you would find them. Sarah shook her head, unable to speak. She felt a storm of emotions, confusion, anger, sadness, and hope all at once. He continued, I never thought. I mean, we never expected you to be here. To find this. Sarah stared at the papers again. Hospital records, old letters, adoption papers, they all confirmed it. The man sitting next to her, Mr. Thompson, wasn't just a stranger, he was her half-brother. Her world tilted. For years, she had struggled alone, working endless hours, scrubbing floors and kitchens for other people. Every night, she worried about giving Ethan enough to eat, about keeping a roof over their heads. And now, she realized she had a family she never knew existed. "Sarah," Mr. Thompson said gently, breaking her thoughts. I I think this means we are related. Half-siblings. You were always part of this family. We just never found you before." Sarah's hands shook as she held the letter once more. The words whispered in her mind. "You're closer than you think." Now she understood. She had been closer than she ever imagined, not just to the man in front of her, but to a life she had never dreamed of. She looked up at Mr. Thompson, tears streaming down her cheeks. "All these years. I thought I was alone. I thought this was my fate." He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You weren't alone. You just didn't know. And now, maybe it's time for things to change." The weight of her past seemed to lift slightly, replaced by something fragile but real: hope. She had struggled for years, cleaning houses, living paycheck to paycheck, sacrificing herself for her son. And now, for the first time, it felt like her life could take a different path. Can this really be true?" she whispered. "I don't know," Mr. Thompson admitted. "But all the signs, the notes, the letters, the photos, they point to you. You're the one my father was searching for all along." Sarah took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. The attic felt smaller now, but the world outside seemed larger, full of possibilities she had never allowed herself to imagine. She looked at Mr. Thompson and finally spoke with a small, shaky smile. "Then, maybe, this is the moment everything changes." He nodded. "Yes, Sarah. This is the moment." Outside, the sun began to break through the clouds. The rays of light filtered through the attic window, falling on the wooden box, the letters, and the two of them sitting on the dusty floor. For the first time in her life, Sarah felt something she had almost forgotten, a sense of belonging. Her past was full of hardship, full of endless days of cleaning and worry. But her future might be different. And somewhere deep in her heart, she knew that life was about to show her a kindness she had never expected, a life where she and Ethan could finally have hope, love, and family. The days after the attic discovery were strange for Sarah Miller. She returned home each evening, but nothing felt the same. Every corner of her small apartment seemed smaller, every worry heavier, yet, somewhere deep inside, a spark of hope glimmered. Mr. Thompson had called several times, asking to meet, to talk, to explain. At first, Sarah hesitated. She had worked her entire life to survive on her own. The idea of accepting help felt strange, almost wrong. But curiosity and the strange sense of connection pulled her forward. One sunny afternoon, she met Mr. Thompson at a quiet cafe in town. He looked serious but kind, and for the first time, Sarah noticed the warmth in his eyes. "Sarah," he began gently, "I know this is sudden. I know it may feel strange. But I want to help. You shouldn't have had to live the way you did, alone, struggling every day." Sarah's hands trembled. She looked down at her coffee cup, her heart pounding. I don't know if I can accept this. I cleaned houses for years. I don't want pity." "It's not pity," Mr. Thompson said softly. "It's family. And family takes care of each other. That's all. I want to help you and Ethan have a better life." Her eyes filled with tears. She thought of Ethan, his small hands, his big dreams, his endless smiles despite their struggles. Could she finally give him the life he deserved? The next week, things began to change. Mr. Thompson helped Sarah pay off her debts, ensuring her small apartment was secure for the time being. He arranged for Ethan to get new school supplies, books, and art materials, things Sarah had always wanted to give him but couldn't afford. Sarah refused to accept a large sum of money, but she allowed Mr. Thompson to help in ways that mattered most: her son's happiness and future. One afternoon, they returned to the Maple Street house together. Mr. Thompson handed Sarah a small key. "This," he said, "is for a small part of my father's house. I want you to have it. For you and Ethan. Make it yours." Sarah's eyes widened. She looked at the key as if it were magic. I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Mr. Thompson smiled. "Say yes to a new start." And for the first time in years, Sarah felt the weight of her past begin to lift. Over the following weeks, Sarah and Ethan slowly moved into their new home. It was not a mansion, but it was theirs. Bright sunlight filled the rooms, and for the first time, Sarah felt peace as she watched Ethan explore every corner. Ethan's eyes sparkled as he unpacked his art supplies. "Mom, look at this. I can finally paint whatever I want." Sarah laughed, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, baby. Paint your dreams. Everything can be new now." At night, after Ethan went to sleep, Sarah sat by the window and thought about the strange twist of fate that had brought them here. All those years of struggle, all the lonely nights and endless cleaning, it had led to this moment. And for the first time, she believed in something she had almost forgotten: hope. A few months later, Mr. Thompson invited Sarah and Ethan to a small gathering at the Maple Street house. It was warm, friendly, and full of light. He showed Sarah letters and old photographs from his father, explaining the story that had been waiting to be discovered for decades. Sarah listened quietly, holding Ethan's hand. She felt gratitude and love, but also a quiet determination. Her life had changed, yes, but she would continue to work hard, teach Ethan values, and make the life they had been given meaningful. Ethan smiled up at her. "Mom, this is the best day ever." Sarah hugged him tightly. "Yes, baby. The best day, and many more to come." As the sun set that evening, Sarah realized something important: life could be cruel, life could be hard, but kindness and family could arrive in the most unexpected ways. And sometimes, all it took was a single spark, a small note, a chance encounter, and someone willing to care to change everything. Months had passed since Sarah Miller and her son Ethan moved into their new home. The small house on Maple Street had been transformed by sunlight, laughter, and hope. Every corner reflected the life they were building together, a life full of possibility and love. Ethan had begun school with his new supplies and books. For the first time, he didn't feel left out. His teachers noticed his talent, his creativity, and his bright imagination. At home, he painted constantly, filling notebooks and canvases with his dreams. Every painting told a story of a boy who had grown up with hope, despite hardships. One afternoon, Sarah walked into his little studio corner. She paused, looking at the latest painting: a bright room, a mother and child bathed in sunlight, hands held tightly together. Ethan looked up at her with a smile. "Mom, this is us. You and me." Tears welled in Sarah's eyes. "It's beautiful, baby. Really beautiful." That evening, there was a knock on the door. Mr. Thompson stood there, holding a small envelope. "Sarah," he said gently, "I thought you might want to see this." Inside was an invitation to a local art contest. Ethan's teacher had submitted his work without telling him. "Mom, they want my painting!" Ethan shouted, jumping with joy. Sarah hugged him tightly. "I told you, baby. Your dreams can come true." At the art contest, the room was filled with colorful paintings and excited children. Ethan's painting caught everyone's attention immediately. The judges smiled, touched by the emotion and talent in the little boy's work. When they announced the winner, the crowd cheered, "Ethan Miller." Tears streamed down Sarah's face as she watched her son step forward to accept his award. Mr. Thompson stood beside her, smiling proudly. For the first time, Sarah felt the fullness of happiness, the kind that comes after years of struggle and sacrifice. Ethan turned to her and whispered, "Mom, look. We did it. You and me." Yes, baby, she said, hugging him tightly. We did it together. Weeks later, Sarah sat in her new home, looking at the letter that had started it all, the tiny folded note she had found in that dusty photo frame. You're closer than you think. She smiled softly, understanding its meaning now. She had been closer than she ever imagined to family, to love, to a life she had dreamed of but never dared to hope for. Her past struggles, the long years of cleaning houses, the nights of worry and hunger, they were all part of her journey. They had made her strong, compassionate, and ready to embrace the kindness that had finally found her. Ethan's laughter echoed from the living room as he painted another masterpiece. Sarah watched him, heart full, tears of joy streaming down her face. Sometimes, she realized, life's greatest gifts come in unexpected ways: a stranger, a hidden letter, or a simple act of kindness that changes everything. And now, she and Ethan had a future filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities. Sarah whispered softly to herself, a promise she would never forget. Thank you, for changing our lives. Outside, the sun set over Maple Street, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. A new chapter had begun, one where dreams were possible, hearts were full, and kindness had the power to change everything.